We have seen Joel Embiid in a lot of new settings this offseason, from speaking at conferences to playing in the Olympics to playing recruiter on primetime television on NBA TV to bring Paul George to Philadelphia. The Sixers superstar has worn a lot of hats, and it got me thinking that this year's version of Joel Embiid is moving a little bit different. I'm going to break down what exactly that means for the Sixers, as well as highlight some of the great stuff that Joel Embiid is getting done off the court. So I'm going to start off with the most recent news. We did get this morning from Chris Haynes saying that I'm told Sixers star Joel Embiid is in New York for the United Nations General Assembly Week with a focus on how the business of sports can transform Africa financially. He will speak at two events today, including the Earthshot Prize hosted by Prince William. Monday night, Bloomberg hosted an intimate dinner featuring Embiid, Toronto Raptors president Masai Ujiri, and a number of prominent leaders in Africa to discuss sports and Africa. Embiid went back to Cameroon this summer after the Paris Olympics. And I will add that not only did he go back to Cameroon, but he was handed an incredibly prestigious award for the country. And I do think it is worth acknowledging just how cool it is. What a beacon of hope that he's really become to that country and that continent as a whole. Let's not forget that the Joel Embiid that was first spotted right here in America, what he did look like at that point in time was quite different than the Joel Embiid that we do know today. Look at that version of Joel and think about the man, the mountain of a man that is currently standing in front of us. A large difference there, and a lot of that would not be possible with the people that did pave that path, and Embiid looking to further pave that himself. So some of the quotes that I did want to break down in Embiid before I switch into how this applies to the Sixers, I do want to start with a part of this meeting here that it writes, and shout out to Zach Chavalella of Sports Network for transcribing these. He writes that in a portion of the summit hosted by South African media presenter Bonang Matheba, Embiid detailed the situation around his early basketball career and transition from Africa to the United States. Embiid began by explaining the lack of opportunity regarding the diversity of sports. Quote, I played sports growing up, but I was playing volleyball, and Masai was talking about infrastructure, and we didn't have a lot of opportunities, Embiid said. It wasn't until I was 16 years old that I started playing basketball, and it just happened out of nowhere. And I was lucky enough because someone saw something in me, and he was one of the guys that gave me the opportunity, and really one of the reasons why I'm sitting here with you guys. But it's helped me a lot. Embiid also spoke on the importance of storytelling and its role in expanding Africa's influence abroad, referencing his story as a way for fellow Africans to believe and follow their own dreams, knowing that realizing them is a possibility. And he continues on another quote that I did want to highlight here. Embiid saying, quote, like you said, it's all about the youth. And then for myself, I feel like I just say that there's a lot of talent, but a lot of times we are not seen. If I were lucky enough, I would not be sitting here. But when you look at my story, I just want people to understand that it's possible. That's why storytelling is extremely important. Growing up, watching a bunch of athletes in every sport because I watch every sport and just looking at the success and what they did, and that's how I dreamt because I wanted to be at this level. Quote, I want to be as successful as those guys and put the work in. And I want people to understand, just look at my story. I wasn't supposed to be here, honestly. But I also put the work in because of what was given to me and took advantage of it. And there's a lot of people that are waiting for that opportunity. And like I said, looking at my story, I just want people to dream and believe it's possible. I think this is awesome stuff from Joel to just put this front and center. Totally agree with his just overall premise of how important storytelling and really being that person that people can dream up, to see that is possible, that people can make it out in the way that he did from the continent that he aspires to be that beacon of hope for. But what really got me thinking here is think about the version of Joel Embiid that came to Philadelphia firsthand. And no, I'm not talking about the version of him physically. I'm talking about the version of him mentally. This is the same dude that was shooting his shot at Rihanna on Twitter or trolling or getting on the stage for a Meek Mill concert when he's supposed to be out with a knee injury. All those things happen right here in Philadelphia. And I do think we've really hit a point with Joel Embiid where he has passed this, I guess, barrier of maturity that we've been waiting for so long. That while it was part of his charm and something that I'm probably way more lenient on than the average person, I like a little bit of the trolling. I like that he keeps things interesting, that he wears his personality on his sleeve, and I do think he fits Philadelphia for a lot of those reasons. But there's also the reality that sometimes you got to be the adult in the room as the best player on the team, and Joel Embiid has not always checked that box. But to me, it's quite clear that he is locked in at that point. And I think there's this special period of time for athletes in general in any sport where they're still slightly in their physical prime, where sure they're on the downfall, but what's even more important is they're in their mental prime, that they understand the game in a way that they did not as a young athlete. That you have to go through, learn from your mistakes, fail at certain levels, come up short in opportunities before you to learn the pathway to success. And for him to have all these playoff shortcomings, to have all these failures in front of him that he has to learn from, and now the team around him to be built up on, I'm very excited for the version of Joel Embiid that is set to take the floor for the Sixers this year. And particularly, there was a couple quotes that got me fired up about the Olympics. That I do know there was a lot of concern about the Olympics. And by the way, we know who Joel Embiid is as a talent. This is the same guy that averaged 34.7 points per game, 11 rebounds, 5.6 assists, shot a ridiculous 52.9% from the field last year. Oh yeah, and by the way, 57.1% on corner threes. Nutty stuff. Seriously, one of the most impressive individual seasons that we've ever seen at any level of basketball, particularly in the NBA. And it is a bummer that there will be a little asterisk next to that because of the injury and him not playing the required amount of games to get the attention that it truly deserves. But beyond just that, we know what he is as a talent. But it is this understanding of this game, this ability to lean on teammates that there are questions. And I'm more optimistic than I've ever been that Joel Embiid is ready to be the exact guy the Sixers need him to be. Why I say that is there's a couple different quotes. I'm going to start off with this coming at the Olympics here, in which he was asked about it. Embiid related on how his national team duties will be beneficial once he pivots back to his usual day job, while he'll share the floor with guard Tyrese Maxey and new signing Paul George. Quote, especially Tyrese, I really want him to take the next step. I got to do as much as I can, and it'll just be there to support, do what I have to do, and still dominate. But I really want to make sure I empower my teammates, so this is a great experience for me. And to me, that was the number one takeaway of him playing in the Olympics. Yes, it's great for him to share the floor with the LeBron James and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry's of the world. Yes, it is cool to see him be important to this Team USA, that they truly would not have beaten Nikola Jokic in Serbia if there was not Joel Embiid on the floor. All those things are great. But the large takeaway here, the long-term takeaway, what is important to Joel is that learning how to play with these other superior talents on the team. That it's one thing when you're looking off Georges Niang or Tobias Harris in the corner. You're not able to do that when it is Steph Curry and LeBron James or your passing options there. And I think it was important for Joel to learn how to be effective without the high usage role, which has been something that he struggled with. Now fast forward to the Sixers season. You have better weapons than you've had through your entire career. That you have guys like Tyrese Maxey, like Paul George, that are ready to deliver. We know who Tyrese is, drawing his numbers to 25.9 points per game last year, a career-high 6.2 assists as well. We also know how much better Paul George is going to be than Tobias Harris, who was really hoped to be that third star all along. Just last year, 22.6 points per game for Paul George. And what is most exciting to me is that 41.3% three-point percentage and 45.7% from the corner. I think at the worst, and I've seen the concerns for the Paul George, we do have to see it on full display before we can have our judgment. But at the worst, that's an incredibly effective catch and shooter who is going to absolutely eat off the gravity of Joel Embiid. I think not enough players or not enough people really recognize the impact that is brought as far as gravity that a defense commands on Joel and how effective that is. Think about how much money he's made for players like Georges Niang who are able to just feed off double teams and knock down open three-pointers. That cannot be the case when Tyrese Maxey and Paul George are the two other options. And of course, there will be two other on the floor, the Kelly Oubres, the Caleb Martins, the Gershon Yabuselis, the Eric Gordons, who's plenty capable of knocking down open three-pointers if given the chance. There's a lot that this team can do. But the bottom line is Joel Embiid has to be at the forefront of things if this Sixers team is ready to go anywhere. And I think he is ready to take that next step. That I truly believe that this version of Joel is different up here than we've seen from him at any other point in his career. And by the way, I will note from the personal side of things that Masai did kind of reveal Joel having his second kid on the way as part of that conference. I will let Joel make that full announcement himself. I can tell Masai caught himself right up there. But shout out to Joel for doing his thing off the court as well. That he is really growing into this mature father figure for not just the city of Philadelphia, not just the continent of Africa or the country of Cameroon, but for everybody that he has in his world. So shout out to Joel Embiid for coming along and trusting the process in himself in the way that things have come, and hopefully that Philadelphia can bear the fruits of his labor for this Sixers season. We are getting closer and closer to actual basketball being played, and I cannot wait to see how this team looks like on the court. It does seem like the vibes are off the charts at training camp already. Not even official training camp yet, just guys getting together for workouts, getting some familiarity with each other, and it's really exciting to think about what this team can grow into. And shout out Joel Embiid for sticking through. Let's not forget that this is the same guy who just inked up his contract just a couple days ago. becoming one of the highest paid players in NBA history, one of the longest tenured players in NBA history. That in an era where loyalty is few and far between across the NBA, Joel Embiid has had plenty of reasons to dip off the ship here in Philadelphia, and he stuck things through. So let's hope it is worth it for everybody and that he can lift this team to the heights that we know that they can come and win an NBA championship this season. So we'll see how it all goes down, but I cannot wait for Sixers basketball to take place and want as many of you as possible along for the ride as well. So we got plenty set to go down this season here at Sixers Digest, doing things even bigger and better in year 2. So make sure you're smashing that subscribe button to be along with the ride with me. Drop a like on this video, any comments you have below, and I'll be talking to you next time. Peace.